Hello fellow CNC nuts and welcome. In this episode we're going to be looking at the jump to line, also known as the resume feature in Masso. Now the first step in any project is to home your machine. You can do this in several ways, one of which is to use the keyboard and go Control-Alt-Home, or you can do as I'm going to do. I'm going to get my mouse, click on the home key until it changes to start, release it, and the machine will start homing. With the machine now homed, we can use our MPG to move the cutter over our stock. To set my Z height, I like to use a torch to pass light under the cutter. With the cutter now sitting on the stock, we can now reset the DROs by going X0, Y0, Z0. Next, I'm going to take the MPG and just lift the Z cutter up off the stock. I can now load my program. Before we can run our project, the first thing we need to do is we need to hit the rewind button. Just click on that. And now, when we hit the Control S on our keyboard or click the start button, our machining will start. There are many reasons why you might need to use the e-stop button, none of them particularly nice. You might break a cutter, you might have a mechanical issue, all sorts of reasons. First thing you need to do is remove the e-stop, and then every time you use the e-stop button you must also rehome your machine to gain position again. Now the good news is, having homed the machine, it now knows where it is and it knows where the material is, the stock that we're working on. And that's because it retains the offset in its memory. Because we haven't lost power, those offsets are retained. So we can immediately move to jump to line. We'll come into the F2 screen and using either Control J or clicking on jump to line, it will show us the last line that we were using. In this case, line 57. I'm going to use the backspace key and replace that with 45. I want to start a few lines further back than I was. I can now hit start from line. Now at this point in time it brings up a whole lot of positional information in that square box, and you can go through and review it and make sure it looks about right. Now we click the run button. At this point in time the spindle starts and the axis moves in the X direction only. We now hit cycle start again, and now it moves back in the Y direction. We can visually have a look and make sure it looks like it's in the right position, and if it is, hit the cycle key again, cycle start again, and it will start cutting. And as you can see, it's running through the original cut that we had before. So what do we do in the case of a power outage? Now that's a bit of a problem because Masso does not remember the tool offsets when it loses power. For that, we need to go back in time. Back to when we originally set our cutter down onto our stock at the X, Y, Z 0 point when we were initially setting this up. At that point, we can go into the F4 screen and double click on the G54. That brings up a work offset box, and if we hit auto load for X, Y, Z and A, it will automatically populate those fields with those offset positions. If we hit the save button now, they're all saved. So if at this point we suffer a power outage, oops, it'll know exactly where to find us. So while Masso is repowering, I'm going to make it that little bit more difficult. Because my machine is rack and pinion drive, I can easily push it out of position as well. So now it has absolutely no idea where it is at all. Let's run the homing routine. After homing, the machine uses the offsets we saved to reset its position. So when I load the file, go into F6, open my file, go into F2, hit the rewind button, and now jump to line. It'll show us the last line we're on, which this time was again 57, and we'll start again from 45, so I'll just replace that with 45. Start from line, and now I'll hit the run. Same procedure as before, and that looks pretty good. Looks about the right place. Let's hit the start and see what happens. Perfect. It's running through the original grooves. Couldn't really ask for more. So we've got one last scenario we haven't covered yet. We have been machining, the power's gone off, but you didn't save those offsets. The question is, are you able to recover your X and Y position? Well, yes you can, though it requires a bit of mathematics and a bit of working out, and unfortunately goes beyond the scope of this particular video. Needless to say, you'll use landmarks on your project. For instance, in my case, there's a hole in the center of the square. I can use that hole as a known location and calculate my work offset from there. Okay, well, that about wraps it up for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, maybe learnt something new. All that remains me to do is to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys again. Cheers.